Well, there is a lot of concern, I know, in Western Sydney, certainly after what happened with Di Lee in Fowler, which, of course, was supposed to be Christina Keneally's seat at the last election, and she came out as a strong community independent. There is a big concern that these independent candidates rise up, and if they do, they split the vote.
Yeah,
They can split that vote with
you're
Labor.
right, James.
But we've got a preferential system, so if
but those
going...
preferences don't necessarily flow, and if they're furious at Labor for what they perceive as being too pro-Israel, they've got a big problem. And this is why, you had that whole situation last week or the other week where Jason Clare got smacked down by Anthony Albanese over this because, he went far too out there for his seat of, I think, Blaxland out in Western Sydney.
You say he went too far. They had a Labor senator, Fatima Payman, come out and say, from the river to the sea, the phrase that Anthony Albanese said encourages violence.
Well, this is a real test of Anthony.
Why hasn't Anthony Albanese come out and got rid of Fatima Payman? It's absolutely disgraceful. West Australian senator, she's 29 years old. This is where multiculturalism has taken us. Labor has built this kind of coalition of all the fringe groups that they can find, and it's coming back to bite them hard, as it is doing in England, where you now have, for example, in a place that's supposedly as trendy and progressive as Brighton and Hove, they now have a mayor who is a hardcore Muslim activist. And the reality is you cannot ultimately combine hardcore Muslim values with hardcore LGBTIQ, progressive, etc. values. It doesn't work, but Labor has built this coalition. Now it's coming hard to bite them. You've got, at those demonstrations at the Labor Party in Victoria, they're accusing the activists, the pro-Palestinian activists, the Labor Party are accusing them of being homophobic, etc., etc., etc. All the things they themselves, Labor, have failed to pull into control in the last decade or so. David Shoebridge, the Greens MP here in New South Wales, he as well, Rita, tweeted from the river to the sea, Palestine shall be free. That's a member of the New South Wales Parliament and one who holds enormous sway in the New South Wales Parliament. What are they going to do about that, James?
Well, yeah, exactly. But I want to go back to this Fatima Payman thing because this is a real test for Anthony Albanese. And,
sure is.
Albanese, his personal views on this, I think, are pretty sensible. I think that he is not, part of the whole From the River to the Sea group. But
is he? Because as an adult, as a politician...
It was his idea, James, to sign, to vote yes for the Palestinian recognition. That is the same thing.
I understand this. Hang on, guys. Well, no, I mean, if you look at his history on this stuff, this has never been...
standing at pro-Palestinian rallies way back in when he was a student.
Yeah, OK, fine. But this issue with Payman, this is the test. Is he going to kick her out? If he doesn't, then, it's because he knows that's the
James. A woman in a hijab.
Yeah, exactly. But not only that, Senate votes. The whole thing comes down to the fact that the Senate is such a precarious place right now for the government. So they can't, even if he wanted to, he can't ditch her. He can't get rid of anybody because they cannot afford to not be able to get legislation to the Senate, which is such a crazy melange of people already. So this is a huge issue for them. But on the multiculturalism point, Rowan, I think you made a really important point, but there's more to it than just the conflict within the left between, these different factions. It's the fact that they have celebrated, not just for years, for decades now, this idea where you maintain a loyalty to someplace other than Australia. That's wherever you're from. Yep. So the idea then is that you suddenly have people coming in and voting on issues that have nothing to do with Australia. And this is going to be the great challenge for Australia going forward and there's a big migration review that's coming up. The government is working on it right now. There's going to be a big review coming up on how do we go about making people Australians. And I think the government's going to fluff this completely because they don't know what to do about it.
Let's have a look at young Fatima here. Let's have a listen to her. This is where multiculturalism has landed Australia in 2024.
This is a genocide. And we need to stop pretending otherwise. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.